Shalom, family. It's good to see you all here. I hope you're doing well. Well, we're going to talk about an interview that Steve Bannon did over in Britain. And I know why he took his ass all the way over to Britain. He knew if he did this type of interview in the United States, it would have been a major fallout. So that's why he took it to Britain, because over there, the people would not react the same. Okay, they wouldn't. So, as far as I'm concerned, all he did was admit that in 2028, him, because he admit he's going to be helping Donald Trump. Him and others are going to be helping Donald Trump stay in office in 2028. So he pretty much said he's going to still be the sitting president in 2028, whether we like it or not. Donald Trump is there to stay. Well, my problem with it, with what Steve Bannon said, Donald Trump is an elderly man. He ain't gonna be able to hang on forever. He ain't in the best of shape now. He ain't gonna improve with age. He's gonna get worse. And I guess they think if they just keep him there until he's coffin ready, it's all gonna be good. I don't know. I don't know what's going through their mind. So Donald Trump will be 82 years old. And as far as I'm concerned, that is too damn old. It's too old. It's too old for him to even be a sitting president now. And I guess they are so desperate to hang on to power. And plus, the Republicans know that a lot of people are mad at them. Why do you think all this protest, these no king marches and everything? They are very unsatisfied with the job that Donald Trump is doing. They don't like all the things that are going on. I even heard someone complaining about Mike Johnson, saying, they keep blaming the Democrats, but I was listening to this person and they were saying Mike Johnson keeps sending the Republicans home. So if you're sending them home, how are they going to sit down at the negotiating table? So it's a lot of stuff going on. And, a lot of people in this country are just very upset. And it's coming out all over social media. And, I think this is really the best place to see people responses, because the mainstream news is very limited in what they do and what they show you. And because of that, social media is way better. That's why their ratings are going down the drain and they're losing to social media. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started so you can hear exactly what Steve Bannon said and the responses that you're going to hear from the people. And they're not good responses either. But I just find it funny how they ran to a foreign media to put all of this out and not do it on mainstream media here in America. Says it all right there. Okay, y'all, please give me a one if you can see my screen. Give me a one if you can see my screen. Thank you.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but He's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will. And you can tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28. Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28. Trump is going to be president in 28. And people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is. But there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will. And you can tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
You're not driving me crazy. I'm trying to understand the coherence of the things you've just told me in the last few minutes. On the one hand, you've said the Constitution is fit for purpose. Secondly, you've said that President Trump needs another term, even though the 22nd Amendment makes pretty clear that he cannot have another term.
Why does it make that clear?
Because he's on his second term already.
At some point in time, we will make sure we go through, Zanny, and define all those terms.
Okay? But even if you find a way to undermine you will be undermining the spirit of that amendment, even if you find some way around it. And to those
Can the American people, if the American people, with the mechanisms we have, put Trump back in office, are the American people tearing up the Constitution? Would that be tearing up?
Well,
would the American people be going against the spirit of the Constitution, ma'am?
I think yes, actually, because I think what you will end up with is a populist justification for a quasi-dictatorship.
He's going to get a third term. So Trump 28. Trump is going to be president 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is. But there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28.
I've covered Steve Bannon long enough to know you don't just flip off what he is saying. Do you think that this is actually something that they're going to try to attempt, and should they?
No. I mean, Bannon has no formal involvement with the Trump White House, and if you look at all the stories, the White House declined to comment. The White House rarely declines to comment. So this is him.
Although I don't know. I would argue that the White House response ought to be, no, the president is going to follow the Constitution. He will not be right for a third term.
No formal involvement.
I know.
I'm going to dispute.
You know what? I disagree with her, because we can go back and reflect on Elon Musk. Elon Musk was not an elected official, but Donald Trump said on more than one occasion that Elon helped him win the election. And even Elon said over there on X that he helped Donald Trump. If it wasn't for him, Donald Trump would not have won the election. So when she says, Steve Bannon really don't have anything to do with, being with Donald Trump, but that's not true. Neither did Elon. So I don't agree with her on that. But let's go on.
This just a little bit. The weeks leading up to January 6th, Steve Bannon was saying all hell was going to break loose if Donald Trump was not necessarily, they didn't certify the results for Donald Trump. Look at what happened. We had an insurrection. Since then, and I mentioned, and I say, well, as much as I can, is he has not only pardoned 1,600 people that are out on the loose and waiting for their orders, and when Steve Bannon says that Donald Trump is potentially going to serve another term, he's sending a signal not only to those 1,600 people that rioted and caused an insurrection at the Capitol, but all of MAGA. And so my hope is that we will have a Supreme Court that will end up stopping this. But I actually think that Steve Bannon truly believes that this is the case, and he's sending a signal to MAGA that Donald Trump should be the president of the United States in 2028.
Let me play, so you brought up the Supreme Court, but I'm going to play for you what Amy Coney Barrett said in an interview recently when she was asked about this issue. Listen.
The 22nd Amendment says you can only run for office for 2 terms.
True.
You think that that's cut and dry?
Well, that's what the amendment says, right? After FDR had 4 terms, that's what that amendment says.
She sounds like someone who thinks that this will come before the court and doesn't explain more on the legal sort of underpinning of this.
Well, there's not much to explain. It's pretty clear. I mean, you can't. So I don't know why you would want to talk it to death.
Why do you think Steve Bannon keeps saying this, and that Trump keeps putting the 2028 hat on the desk and all that?
He keeps it in the on the hats and stuff because he's trolling his opponents, and he knows how crazy it drives him when he does these kinds of things. Bannon, I don't know. I don't know him personally. I don't know him well at all. Maybe he believes this. Maybe he doesn't. I just know what the Constitution says. I know what most Republicans would think about it, and I know what the Supreme Court would do about it. So I don't really think
just to get it on the record, Scott. If this came up and there was a real attempt to give Trump a 3rd term, would you be for it or against it?
I'm on the record of opposing violating the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution.
This is kind of interesting. Maggie Haberman, she's covered Trump for a very long time, so she understands how this works. And she agrees with you on the trolling. She says he clearly enjoys knowing that it bothers Democrats that he says this, and there's a trolling aspect to it. But the thing with all of his trolls is they start out that way, like Canada as a 51st state, and then he socializes them. They take on a life of their own, or he breathes more life into them. I've covered Trump as well. She's right about that. Steve Bannon is not in the White House, but he's constantly speaking directly to Trump, to people around Trump. These things do take on a life of their own in Trump's own mind. And often that is all that is needed, the permission structure, to figure out one way or another how to make things happen.
I mean, they've already pretty much understood what the vulnerable points are when it comes to the institutions. As I continue to say, the institutions are only going to work if the people within them are willing to defend them. And considering that he put together the Supreme Court, and he did it for a very specific reason, because he knows the things that he tries to do that are outside the lines, that if it gets there, he understands that he has crafted the perfect scenario, and it's checkmate. And so, like, for people to take this seriously, I think we absolutely should. And I'm sorry, I don't understand this game that we play with him. It's like, oh, when he says things that are very dangerous, he's kidding. But then when he actually does it, it's like, oh, I guess he meant it. It's like, I'm not going to play the whole what does he mean game and oh, he's just trolling, when he has shown time and again that he's very serious about the things that he says. Well, everything is a test.
Yeah.
And he's just going to continually see how far he can get with everything and just see how far he can go. And yeah, considering how hard it was to get him out of the White House before, why do we think that this would be any different? We see who he admires. He admires dictators. The dictators don't lead. So, like, why would we think that he was joking?
What does this say about the support for, like, a J.D. Vance, who's widely seen as perhaps the next person in line, that someone like Steve Bannon continues to suggest that it's not going to be the next guy. It's not going to be Don Jr. or J.D. Vance. It has to be Trump. Let me just play a little bit more from this interview with The Economist where Bannon kind of expounds on that.
The only way President Trump wins in 2028 and continues to stay in office is by the will of the American people, okay? And the will of the American people is what the Constitution embodies. And so I think we're going to be in good hands there. We need to finish what we started. And President Trump is the instrument, a providential instrument to finish that, to finish this job.
Lydia, if you're J.D. Vance, what are you thinking right now?
I think he thinks that Steve Bannon is trolling. I don't think he takes this seriously the way that we are at this table. That's just the reality. And even Bannon said he thinks it's the will of the people. The will of the people is clearly not supporting that whatsoever.
So Republicans need to speak out, and I'm not sure we are going to get Republicans actually telling Trump this is not a good idea for Steve Bannon. And I think that's
Trump is not saying it's a good idea. I mean, he said just a few weeks ago, I'm not running in 20. I mean, he's
just a
poo-pooed
clickbait
this.
headline.
He's poo-pooed
But
this.
you would call up Trump if he is considering this and tell him this is a bad idea.
If he asked me, I would tell him this is not You can't do this.
Well,
That would be my advice.
just as I said in the first segment, let's take yes for an answer in terms of agreement at the table here from our conservative friends, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I mean, ultimately, I do think, to Jamel's point, you got to take this stuff seriously.
He's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28. And people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan. President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will, and you can tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
You're not driving me crazy. I'm really I'm trying to understand the coherence of the things you've just told me. On the one hand, you've said the Constitution is fit for purpose. Secondly, you've said that President Trump needs another term, even though the 22nd Amendment makes pretty clear that he cannot have another term.
Why does it make that clear?
Because he's on his second term already.
At some point in time, we will make sure we go through, Zanny, and define all those terms. If the American people, with the mechanisms we have, put Trump back in office, are the American people tearing up the Constitution?
What you will end up with is a populist justification for a quasi-dictatorship.
That's not true at all. Trump
That's what it sounds like.
It's not. The only way President Trump wins in 2028 and continues to stay in office is by the will of the American people.
Meaning what?
Okay? And the will of the American people is what the Constitution embodies. So I think we're going to be in good hands there.
You won't be.
We need to finish what we started.
You won't be. You won't be. You won't be good. You won't be good. We'll make sure. We'll make sure you won't be good. Oh no, we're not just gonna sit and let that go. That absolutely not. And what we need to do is make sure they said it. They've been saying it. It's a joke. Oh, it's not. They said it the same way they said Project 2025 was going to be a thing. And it was not real. It's not going to happen. And we see it. Take them at their word. This is what they're saying. This is what they want to do. This is them massaging it into, into society, into everybody's, space. And, this is them trying to put it out to see if we get mad now and then they can kind of figure out how to make this work later. No, we need to fight back and resist. We need to fight back. No, there won't be another third. There will not be a President Trump third term. There will not be. There will not be. There will not be. No. We won't just let that happen. So anyway, no. I don't know why I'm getting upset that Steve Bannon, but the truth is, this is what they want.
So if you haven't heard, Steve Bannon believes that Donald Trump will be president in 2028. And he's went so far as to do an interview. And in that interview, he said basically that President Trump plans on being a 3-term president. And, when he was asked about the 22nd Amendment, he basically said that there's ways of circumventing that. There's ways of getting around that, and that they've had stronger odds against them when he became president in 2016. In that same interview, he went on to say that Donald Trump is an instrument of God, and that, in order for us to prosper as a nation, Donald Trump has to be president in 2028. And it just shows me how deep the brainwashing goes, because if you can look at that man and say that he is an instrument of God, you are so removed from what God is that it's not even funny. Another thing that I personally have a problem with is the fact that this man is on national television telling us that the president plans on breaking the law, the Constitution, something that holds us together as a nation. And I find that to be ridiculous because, as absurd as it sounds, I really do believe that, people in his circle and, people that are working with him truly want to push this agenda through, and they're going to do anything that they can to do it. And, in the world that we live in, nobody's stepping up to stop him. Donald Trump can literally do whatever he wants to do, and nobody's stepping in front of him to stop it. Nobody's on his coattails or, just even making him sweat at a point. It just seems like he's infallible. And it's because these people honestly believe this bullshit. They believe that, this guy is out here, being a representation of God and working on their behalf to make the world a better place. truly believe that shit. And it just shows that, I honestly don't know what picture they're looking at, because this guy is literally only in the game for himself. Like, he's only in the game for him and his family. Like, there's nobody else outside of that even like remotely matter. And it's crazy that, he's in our office because he lied to all of the people that would vote for him, and everybody who would vote for him, weren't listening to the, voices of reason in the room. Like, it's really ridiculous when you think about it. And another part of this whole thing that's ridiculous is to me, the fact that they believe that he's gonna make it to a third term. I personally believe that, this man doesn't have the health to make it, to a third term. I feel like, like his health is in like a free fall, and it's very clear for everybody to see. Like, we already know that he really can't feel his legs. We already know he has bad circulation in his legs. His ankles are always like swollen. He has a McDouble like every single day. When they don't spray paint him orange, he looks pasty and gross. He literally is tucking his neck skin into his suit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're gluing his hair on. Like, they're keeping a corpse alive, and they're trying to tell us that he's healthy enough to be a third term president, even if it was possible. Like, I find all of this to be ridiculous. But please tell me what y'all think, and we can talk about it, because, all of this is ridiculous. And if you side with the president, please tell me why you side with the president, because at this moment, I really need to know why. Like, I honestly need to know what y'all see in this man that just makes y'all like, bend over backwards and turn a blind eye to all of the evil, malicious, petty, immature shit that he does on a daily.
Fuck. Steve Bannon is on British news stations, on television, news stations, telling the British media that we will have another election in 2028. So that's good. But it's going to be Trump. Trump will have a third term, is what Bannon said. And they called him out on it and said, you can't with the laws. And he said, there's ways around it. We have a plan, and it will be executed, and people will not like it. I use a VPN to get news that's not in our country, because I'm not getting any news on this goddamn platform. There are 2 British papers on this platform, and they both have it. It was like their version of 60 Minutes, where they sit down with someone and they flat out frankly talk. Steve Bannon is saying there absolutely is going to be a Trump 2028. It's in the works, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. What the fuck? Nothing we can do to stop it? He said Steve Bannon said Trump is the Messiah that is going to bring him everything he wanted. Steve Bannon wants a white society, a white America. Steve Bannon wants Black people to be SLAVES again. I don't think I can say that word on here because I get shadow banned. Steve Bannon has the balls to go on British television and tell the world that America will only and always have Trump, and that is our only option forever. What does he know that gave him those balls? What does he know that gave him those balls? It's all over British media. It's video. So don't fucking ask me for the article, you pieces of shit. It's out there. I'm kind of sick of you people. It's video. There is nothing to read. It's video. So find it that way.
He said he has a plan. They have a plan. And as we have seen, their plans, they're well thought out. Well thought out. They have a plan to make sure Trump is the authoritarian for the rest of our lives, for the rest of Trump's life. They have a plan, and Steve Bannon told the world they have a plan. That tells me that our elections will not be fair. They will not be fair, and they will not be free. They are going to be exactly how it is in other countries. Like when I was a child, Mexico would have elections, ballot boxes for who they wanted was the only ballots they counted. That's what it's going to be like. They have a plan. Black America, Steve Bannon has a plan to make you an SLAVE again. Not okay. Not okay. Not okay. Love y'all. Bye.
So Steve Bannon just said something pretty wild, and it's going to make all of the Trump 2028 hats make a little more sense. I mean, most of us already assume this, but everyone tried telling us it's impossible. Well, maybe you haven't been paying attention. Listen to this.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28.
So what Steve is saying here is there is a plan for a Trump 2028. I mean, people laughed it off, but I think you should start assuming there's more going on here. Gavin Newsom wasn't laughing earlier this year. He actually fears Trump will find a way to make it happen. Look at the way they put together a No Kings protest. It's like they know Trump is going to pull it off as well. And I'll tell you why I think they know. It's because they know he deserves it. They know something about the last presidency, and they act like they don't. So yeah, I think you should listen to Steve Bannon here. Trump could be your president again in 2028, allegedly. Have a great day, Patriots.
Woo! So Steve Bannon just said the quiet part out loud. There's apparently a plan to give Donald Trump a third term as president. Yeah, you heard me right. A third term. Like the man's presidency is a Marvel franchise now. But Bannon told The Economist that Trump will, quote unquote, be president in 2028, even though the Constitution clearly says 2 terms, that's it, buddy, and you're out. But Bannon claims they've got alternatives. Alternatives? What, like, is Trump going to time travel? Tag team it with Eric? Install himself as president forever, ever, ever, ever? Only one president has ever gotten away with more than 2 terms, and that is Franklin D. Roosevelt. And that was during the Great Depression and World War II. So unless Trump is fighting both at the same damn time, I think we're good. Trump's been teasing this idea too, posting a Truth Social video with campaign signs like Trump 2028, Trump 2032, Trump 2036, all the way up to Trump forever. Bro, this isn't Fast and the Furious 12 Oval Office drift. Meanwhile, 7 million people were out protesting last weekend for the No Kings movement, basically saying, we already fought one revolution for this BS. So yeah, Bannon says there's a plan, but the rest of America's like, nah, we canceled that subscription after season 2, you feel me? And the other question I got is, if he's gonna run a third term, right? Where's Obama?
Donald Trump would just be another rich asshole that we barely ever heard from if we had voted in Hillary Clinton. But we messed that up. We screwed that up, America. He would be in prison if we had just voted in Kamala Harris. But we screwed that up too. Okay, can't take that back. But now because of all that, we have to now listen to Steve Bannon talk about Donald Trump being the president again in 2028. I'm going to show you this video, but anytime one of these dumbass MAGAs, one of these idiot right-wingers says to you, well, you guys having a no king's protest, you don't even need a no king's protest because he's not a king, he's not a dictator. Tell them he's trying to be president for a third term. This is what we were foreshadowing. This is the shit we are trying to prevent when we're out in the streets protesting this man trying to be a dictator. This is not the first time Steve Bannon has said this. Stop pretending this is a joke. Stop pretending they won't come through with this. We warned people that he would implement Project 2025. And they were saying, he didn't even know who those people are. They're just a bunch of people, just far right guys. Now they're all in his cabinet. Now they're all in his administration. The people who authored Project 2025, when we were being told, yeah, that never happened. And there are a lot of people, and I know, listen, when I make these rants, I'm not talking to you guys individually who are following my page, who went out and voted and you did your job. But there are a lot of people, a lot of Democrats, liberals, progressives, who stayed home in 2024, and now we are where we are, that we are going to have to fight for this man to not be president in 2028. Because when Steve Bannon says this, it is because they've been talking. You think he made those hats as a joke? You think Donald Trump is walking around in hats that says Trump 2028 and all of these other right wingers, even your dumbass bootlickers like Terrence Williams, are running around wearing these hats that say Trump 2028 because it's a joke? No, it's not a joke. It's not them kidding around. It's not them just trying to own you or just trying to, bait you or provoke you. It is them telling you exactly what they're going to do. If you don't think Donald Trump has had these conversations with Steve Bannon, you're a useful idiot. The conversations have been had. The plan is in place. They're trying to make this happen. And that's why Steve Bannon is now just saying it out loud on television for everyone to hear. And he's also telling you that he doesn't give a damn what the 22nd Amendment says. He doesn't give a damn. They're going for this.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28. And people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is. But there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28.
Are you guys hearing this? She said, what about the 22nd Amendment? And he said, don't worry, we got a plan. When the time comes, we'll let you guys in on the plan. But just know, Donald Trump is getting a third term. He will be president in 2028, and you guys just need to get accommodated with that. The hell we do. We do not need to get accommodated with that. We do not need to be okay with that.
Well, Steve Bannon just said that the plan is to make Trump president in 2028. Just plainly said it. He said, yep, Trump is going to be president in 2028. Americans might as well just get that through their head. He said that Trump is a divine instrument of the conservative movement and that he must become president again. He will get a third term. When asked about the 22nd Amendment by the journalist from The Economist who was interviewing him, he said there are creative legal ways to, try and figure our way out of that. We had longer odds of him becoming president in 2016. We had longer odds of him becoming president again in 2024. The odds are very good for us right now. And when the time allows it, we will lay out what the plan is, but just know he's going to be president again in 2028. He will have a third term. Okay, so let's just sit with that for 5 seconds. Are you cool with that? What are you going to do now that they're telling you that man is the beginning of a dynasty? He is not leaving that chair. They have just told you the plan. They have told you that the plan is to eliminate the idea entirely of a two-term presidency. They have said it now. They have not shied away from it. They have told you that is the plan. What now?
Donald Trump was not sent here by God, but he will be president in 2028, and they don't care what it takes or if America wants it. Steve Bannon laid it all out today, and let's be very clear, if Trump did not agree with him, he would immediately disavow what Bannon was saying with a word salad on Truth Social. MAGA believes that Trump has been sent here by God to save our nation. As Bannon said, he is a vehicle of divine providence. This is the same kind of language they used in the 1930s, saying that Mustache Man was sent by God to save Germany. MAGA is presenting itself the same way that the NSDAP did, as a political religion that is saving the nation. Because by invoking the idea that he is on a divinely ordained mission means that he can suspend the laws of the state in order to complete the work he has been sent to do. Bannon said the part we all knew out loud. He's not churchy, not particularly religious. Just like Mustache Man, he has been using religion to con people into believing that he has been divinely ordained and to combat his opponents.
Steve Bannon just said Trump could come back again in 2028. Deal? Even though the Constitution says 2 terms max. 2 fucking terms max. Trump supporters say he's the people's choice. The system's broken. Let him finish the job. Critics scream, that's not democracy. That's a cult trying to crown a king. Here's the part both sides ignore. If America's rules only matter when your guy wins, there are no rules. And the real question isn't about Trump in 2028. It's whether the country even believes in limits anymore. Does America really believe in its Constitution anymore?
So Steve Bannon's out here saying Trump's going to be president in 2028 as well. I don't know how they're getting around this 22nd Amendment. So he was in an interview with this woman from Great Britain, and he's saying there's ways around it. There's ways around it. We're going to figure out a way. There's multiple avenues we can take. And basically what it came down to when he was talking to her was the fact that he was saying that if the general population just writes him in, then he's going to win. I'm like, well, that's going to piss off J.D. Vance, isn't it? Because he's going to probably be running in 2028. So I think that you might have some frustration there. But I don't think they're getting around the Constitution. You got the Constitution's 22nd Amendment says, hey, you can't run for a 3rd term, unless there was like an act of war. So, and then you have to stay in office, right? So if there was an act of war, then you could stay in office. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is Steve Bannon right? This is just getting crazier and crazier by the day.
TikTok is partially owned by the US government now, so there is a very good chance that this video gets suppressed. So just press these buttons if you want to hear more information like this. So one of Donald Trump's closest allies, Steve Bannon, just said in an interview that Trump 2028 is happening whether you like it or not, so get accustomed to it. It is against the law for any president to have more than 2 terms in office, according to the 22nd Amendment. It's crazy I even have to say that. And if they are successful in finding a way around the 22nd Amendment, America at that point in time would become an instant dictatorship. I believe that this is 100% what they're at least going to attempt, and I'm going to quickly explain how I think it's going to play out. So right now, Donald Trump is declaring various states of emergency. He's declaring an emergency on the border. There's an emergency with trafficking of illegal substances. And then now we're also getting a taste of him declaring emergencies in American cities like, oh, Portland is getting burned down. Los Angeles is getting burned down, even though crime rates are actually down in those areas, right? And the biggest blow to his power that's coming up is the 2026 midterm election. Donald Trump, despite whatever you might have heard online, is the most unpopular president in American history. He as a person is unpopular. The people he works with are unpopular. His policies are unpopular. The economy is unpopular. So even though Democrats are garbage, it is very likely that they would sweep the Republicans and take back the House and or the Senate. Donald Trump is already running into a lot of problems in the courts, okay? So if he doesn't have the support of Congress to let him rubber stamp whatever he wants, then it's unlikely he'd be able to do even half the things that he's been doing in the past year. That's why, in my opinion, with the evidence that we have, I believe that the president is going to try to meddle with the 2026 election. He already lied in 2020 and claimed that there was some kind of cheating involved, even though it was proven over a dozen times in court that he was making it up. And he also is facing federal charges for meddling with the election that he never got brought up on because he became the president again. So it's more likely than not that he's going to do something that's not considered legal to try to change the outcome in some way. Now, how would he do this exactly? Well, Donald Trump is already meddling with mail-in voting. He's trying to make it illegal in general. And that's because, generally speaking, Democrats are more favored by mail-in voting, even though he told his supporters to mail-in vote during the last election. Also, one of the biggest voting machine companies named Dominion was recently bought out by a GOP official who is very loyal to Donald Trump. So it's not unlikely that they would try to change things on their side too. Or, and it comes full circle, he might just declare that we're in a state of emergency, in a state of war, in a state of invasion. Therefore, we can't have midterm elections. That's a strategy that's used in dictatorships in other countries usually. I don't know if it would work in America. There is a little bit of hope just because the elections are run by the states. So, I mean, as long as there's not like military men telling the governors what to do, then the states will at least attempt to have free and fair elections. And check it out. I don't want to hear any Republicans coping about this either. He's selling hats saying Trump 2028. He's going to try to become a dictator.
Yeah, you know, and maybe they're right with that no kings march because this man definitely think he's some kind of king up in here. So we shall see. But do I think Donald Trump will leave quietly? No, because in 2020 he showed he was not going to leave quietly. That's when that insurrection happened and he antagonized that whole thing. And I don't think he's going to leave quietly if they called that election and he don't win in 2028. I think he is, if he feels, especially because, you know, they do polling all throughout the campaigning. And if he sees his numbers are not there, I really truly believe Donald Trump would stoop as low as using war to keep himself in office. I really do. I think he would go there and sacrifice innocent lives just so he can be a sitting president for a third term. Yes, I do think he would sacrifice our young in a war. But y'all, tell me what you think in the comments because, I mean, this ain't coming out for no reason. This is definitely their plan. But like I said, they're not factoring in Donald Trump's health. Donald Trump is already not in good health at all. And there is no guarantee the Most High is going to even let him have another term. There's no guarantee at all. But I'm not surprised. These folks, they cheat and they'll do anything and cheat to stay on top. And Donald Trump is no different. He's just showing us what a scoundrel he really truly is. You give him an inch, he'll take the whole mile and beyond. Unbelievable. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. There are some crazy things coming up. I did a live. It may either come out today or tomorrow. And you know, we have the current events going on. And you know, the edge growth butter is still available for anybody that wants it. It's still available on Etsy. And there's just there's so many things going on, you know. So I got videos coming up, live streams about the economy, about um federal workers are flooding food banks and there's long food lines at the food banks already. And you're not even talking about the EBT people. And I said that before. I said, you know, it's not just the EBT. It's going to be a lot of these federal workers that did not get paid. They're going to be in a dire situation too, and they're going to need food. And it's happening already. The federal workers by the thousands around the country are flooding the food banks, and that's only going to get worse. You know, I'm hearing people say, you know, EBT, they're not going to get it November 1st, and there are already people saying they better get ready because when December 1st come, they're not going to get funding for the second time. Because a lot of people believe, you know, we are in the final quarter of the year and it's not going to be that much activity going on in Washington, D.C. So, yeah, they may have to live through December with no money on their EBT. So it's about to get crazy up in here for real. So y'all, I will see you at 1:45. That's going to be my next live stream. Hope to see you there. And thank you for coming and thank you for your support, not only here on YouTube, but also supporting my small business. I deeply appreciate it. I also deeply appreciate your donations as well. Shalom, family.